Hey guys, welcome to a new video. Like, comment and subscribe if you enjoy. Without any further interruptions, enjoy the what if. Chunin exams. Written exams. After Naruto started his laughing fit, everyone became terrified. Even Kurenai and Anko were a little freaked out, though Anko was experiencing pride as well. Sasuke and Sakura decided to head into the exams. Sasuke-kun, a shrill voice called as a blonde kunoichi jumped onto his back. Did you miss me, Sasuke-kun? Get off of him, Ino pig. Sakura shouted. Sasuke-kun is mine. Yeah right, just go to your lost puppy Naruto, Ino spoke. Yahoo! A gruff voice called. We're all here. Troublesome. A lazy voice spoke. Do you have to be so loud? Hey we w'er where is n Naruto-kun? A timid kunoichi asked. Hey, where is that baka? Ino asked. I need to give him a piece of my mind for getting me in trouble with daddy. I'm going to kill that doby. Kiba grumbled. Suddenly the entrance doors burst open with a loud bang. As everyone looked, they saw that no one there, just a long empty hallway. Then it happened. The lights at the very back began to flicker before going off completely. In the darkness, a pair of crimson eyes became visible from afar. It was all that was visible. They were very fox-like. Then the singing began. Total slaughter, total slaughter. I won't leave a single man alive. The eyes began moving forward toward the entrance, but there were no footsteps. The lights began to flicker off as the eyes came closer. The room began to fill with fear. La-da-da-da-die. Genocide. La-da-da-da-dud. An ocean of blood. The eyes were finally at the door and still the only part of the stranger visible. The room was full to the top with fear. It only continued to grow. Let's begin. The killing times. The first foot made its way through. From the shadows Naruto appeared. He was still under his henge, but his blindfold was off. He gave the room a full view of his fox-like eyes. Hey guys, what's up? Naruto. Naruto, you troublesome blonde. Shikamaru sighed. You scared us half to death. Only half. Naruto asked. I'll do better next time. I wasn't scared, Kiba boasted. Then why are your legs shaking? Shino asked. Shut it. Hey, you guys should keep it down. A newcomer spoke. Yours drawing a lot of attention. He looked to Naruto. Especially you freaked out a lot of people with that intro. It was true. Everyone had their eyes on the rookie 9. Naruto decided to have some fun. Well, the only thing to fear. He eyed them. As fear himself, he felt them grow anxious. So they should be afraid. They should be very afraid. Naruto began reapplying his blindfold when Ino opened her mouth. Baka, why are you wearing a blindfold? She asked. It makes you look like a bigger baka and it clashes with that orange monstrosity. You just don't understand that being a ninja isn't about fashion or looking good, Naruto spoke, plus a blindfold makes everything look impressive. Just look at that Rain ninja over there. Everyone turned to the genin squad from Rain. There was one with both eyes covered. It wasn't an exact blindfold, but it proved the point. The Rain ninja gave a simple nod and thumbs up. Someone understood. Well, maybe I could be of service to you all, Kabuto offered. I have information from my previous times here. Is this your second time, Kabuto-san? Sakura asked. No, it's my 7th, he admitted. Man, you must really suck, Kiba taunted. These exams are extremely difficult, Shikamaru stated. Kabuto. Sasuke called. Do you have information on individuals? Yes, who would you like? Gaara of the Desert, Rock Lee, he paused, and Naruto Uzumaki. You know their names, he stated. That's no fun. He drew 3 cards and began to read the first. Rock Lee, a taijutsu expert with no known ninjutsu or genjutsu. His teammates are Ten-Ten and Neji Hyuga. 25D ranks, 21C ranks, 1B rank. That's pretty impressive. Gaara of the Desert. His skill is unknown and his teammates are his siblings Temari and Konkuro. 0D ranks, 9C ranks, 8B ranks, 14A ranks. The scariest part is, Kabuto spoke, he's never even been scratched on a single mission. Naruto Uzumaki, a genjutsu and kenjutsu user. His teammates are Sakura Haruno and Sasuke Uchiha. A.K.A. the Mirage. Mirage Blade, the hero of Wave. Fear, 84D ranks, 16C ranks, 2B ranks. 1A rank. There is no way that Baka did all those missions, Sakura screeched. You must have mixed them up with Sasuke-kun's stats. Actually these are missions he's taken with his girlfriends, that's right plural. He paused and watched the men's reaction, the ice queens of Konoha. He managed to fight off Zabuza the demon in the mist and turn him into a leaf ninja. Instill hope and save a village getting a bridge names after him after killing near 200 bandits. And he was the one people believed was the Dobi. Many eyes were now on Naruto. This was like a fear buffet for him. However, some of that information is classified, I'll have to watch this guy. Hello Naruto-kun, Tamari greeted, are you going to let me touch those whiskers yet? Hello Tamari-chan. Naruto returned the greeting, and no, still for my Heims only. He noticed off to the side that Kabuto made a comment on the sound genin. That was foolish, insulting an unknown enemy. Alright maggots take a seat, Ibiki shouted, it's time for the first test to begin. After explaining the rules, which I will not do, they began. It was simple if you looked underneath the underneath. You have to get the answers without getting caught. The only way to do that was to cheat. Unless you're Naruto. Proctor-san. Naruto called, can I have the answers? Everyone paused in their actions. They couldn't believe that someone would actually ask for the answers during a test. Yet here was Naruto, doing that very thing. Junin lounge. Kakashi was banging his head on the wall in embarrassment and anger. How could one of his students do that to him? The answer was actually pretty simple. It was Naruto Uzumaki. Anko was happily laughing her head off. Kurenai had to admit it was a little humiliating but worth it to see the look on everyone's face. Plus, it was a technique no one had ever tried before. Did he really think Ibiki would just give him the answers? Asuma asked. Probably. Kurenai answered. Exam room. Sure. He said handing him the answers. All Junin face faulted, minus Anko who just rolled on the ground laughing. Ibiki was impressed. Naruto had to either be the bravest or craziest genin he'd ever met. May I have the answers as well? Shino asked. Ibiki was tempted to give him the answers but he had a reputation to keep. No, Ibiki stated. Please, Shino tried. No. Why did he give you the answers Baka? Sakura asked. He should have give them to Sasuke-kun, not that he needs them. She went on ranting about how great Sasuke was. It was a nightmare. Does she ever shut up about the Uchiha? Ibiki asked. Not unless you threaten her. Naruto asked. Then you may have a good 1 minute. I'll give you the answers if you shut her up, Ibiki offered Shino. Haruno. Shino whispered. Be quiet, or my friends Ian will eat you. He allowed his insect to crawl around in a dramatic fashion for extra affect. They all believed he would. I believed he would. Not that he'd get much off her, many thought there is no meat on her bones. With the answers Naruto quickly blew through the test, minus the 10th answer. Not that it matters he thought. He had already figured out the meaning of the test. Alright, are you all ready for the final question? Ibiki asked. The 10th question was a dangerous one. If they decided not to take it then they were disqualified. If they did take it and failed then they wouldn't be able to be promoted. Ever. The genin were already leaving the room. This guy is practically spoon-feeding me. The fear of failure was intoxicating but it's still not enough. It's nowhere near enough. For those who are still here, Ibiki spoke, you. Pass. As he spoke those words a black cloth broke through the window. It spread out to reveal that it was a sign. It read. The second proctor. The sexy and taken. Anko Mitarashi. I'm the proctor for the second exam, she spoke, Anko Mitarashi. Anko. Ibiki sighed. You're early, again. You let so many though this year Ibiki, Anko pointed out, are you getting soft in your old age? No, but your little friend there, he pointed to Naruto, as a wild shot. I know, I'm so proud, she cheered. Hi Haim, Naruto. Hi Naru-chan, she greeted as she moved to sit in his lap. I saw your intro, it was amazing. Thank you, he spoke, I aim to please. Oh you do Naru-chan, she purred, you do. Before you to begin something you probably won't stop. It was true, they wouldn't, you need to remember you are the second proctor. Right, she had forgotten. I want you all to follow me to the next exam spot. We are going to cut the remaining teams in half. Naruto raised his hand to ask a question. Yes, Naruto, you will be allowed to literally cut people in half. He dropped his hand. No, I'm not going anywhere with you, Sakura screeched. Not after what you put me and Sasuke-kun through. Naruto, Anko spoke, if you would. Everyone, this room has been laced with exploding tags. Naruto spoke, if the blast doesn't kill you the collapsing building will. Bye. Both he and Anko went up in smoke. Everyone looked and saw that the room was indeed laced with explosive tags. Many were wondering the same thing, how did we miss him putting those up? They'll never know, and the explosives were set to go off at any second. Ibiki was the first out the window. He had no doubt in his mind that those explosives were real. The genin followed soon after. 5, 4, 3, boom. Oh god, he's trying to kill us. A random genin shouted. All eyes turned to Naruto. Even Anko had to take a look at the blonde. Naruto, she started, those explosives were real. Yep, he answered. People could have died. Unfortunately they didn't. He spoke, but now they'll fear me. You make me so proud. Chunin exams. Forest of Death. Welcome everyone, Anko shouted, to the Forest of Death. It doesn't seem all that scary, Kiba shouted. As fast as lighting a kunai sailed past his face. The blade just lightly cut into his flesh, drawing a drop of blood. Anko was right behind him with a kunai at his neck. It's the hot-headed ones like you that end up splattered on the ground, Anko spoke. Usually she would lick the blood up but decided against it. Don't want Naruto killing the genin out of jealousy, yet. She felt a presence behind her. It was giving off subtle killing intent. Hello, I believe this is yours. It was a grass ninja holding Anko's kunai with an elongated tongue. Thanks, but you shouldn't be behind me, Anko stated with a hard smile. My boyfriend could get the wrong idea with the killing intent and kill you. Everyone saw the blonde behind the grass ninja. Gone was the mischievous smile. It was replaced with a hard mask. If his eyes were visible, many were sure that they were cold as ice. Take her warning, Naruto ordered. The grass ninja gave a predatory smile before backing away. That was unnecessary, Naru-chan, Anko spoke. I can take care of myself. Naruto didn't speak. He never took his blindfolded eyes off of the grass ninja. Anko knew to be on the guard. Hey, I'm still here, Kiba spoke. Good, Anko spoke. You can hand these out. She handed him a stack of papers. These are permission slips so that if you die we don't get blamed. What are we doing this time? Someone asked. The task is simple. Each team will be given a scroll. She held one that read heaven and one that read earth. Your job is to retrieve the opposite scroll from the other team, by any means necessary. She let that one hang in the air. You have 5 days to do so and make it to the tower in the center. What about food? Choji asked. There are plenty of plants and wildlife in the forest, Anko assured. Just don't let them eat you first. If that becomes too difficult you could eat one of your teammates, Naruto offered. The one that is the least useful will be helpful by being dinner. What scared many genin was that Choji seemed to actually be thinking. His eyes were shifting back and forth between Ino and Shikamaru. He began drooling at the prospect of a new flavor. Can we begin? Ino asked. Choji is scaring me. The teams were each given a scroll. They were each designated toward a gate. A word of advice, Anko spoke, just don't die. The test began. Team 7 were moving through the forest at an even pace before coming to a stop. Once they covered enough distance they came to a stop. Okay, we need a plan, Naruto stated. I think we. Who put you in charge, Baka? Sakura asked. Fine, Naruto sighed. Do either of you have a plan? Quote. I thought so, Naruto spoke. We should. He never got to finish his plan as he felt a large spike in chakra. There was only enough time to turn his head before he was hit. He was blasted away by a powerful wind jutsu. It carried him a great distance away. What hit me? Naruto asked. Hiss. Naruto turned to the sound. He was greeted by the largest snake he had ever seen. It stared him down with a predatory look. Are you one of Anko's summons? Naruto asked. The snake simply shook his head. Are you going to eat me? The snake didn't answer. It simply opened its mouth and swallowed Naruto whole. As the snake laid to digest the blonde, it felt strange. Soon pain erupted from its stomach as Naruto carved away at its innards. It had no choice but to spit Naruto out. The two looked at each other. Naruto shivered. He had just been eaten. He gathered himself as the snake made a second attempt. Naruto jumped to the side and released his hinge while taking a stance. He had never fought anything this big, but he has fought countless snakes. After all, he wasn't going to be anyone's supper. Jumping into the air, he brought his sword, still in sheath, down onto the snake's skull. The serpent fell unconscious under the blow. Be glad one of my heims is a snake summoner, Naruto stated, otherwise I would have killed you. Now that the snake was unconscious, he could find his team. Relaxing, he spread his sensor meter a good distance before he found them. They were in the middle of battle with a powerful opponent. And losing. I need to get to them and fast. Without thinking, he jumped onto the unconscious snake. Giddy up, snake. The snake laid there. Giddy up. Come on, snake, giddy up. The snake continued to lie there. Naruto went behind the snake. Drew pulled his sword back. When I say giddy up, I mean giddy up. He swung it at the snake. The impact to the snake was great. It was enough to wake the snake up and send it into a panic. This caused the snake to start slithering away at incredible speed. Without Naruto, whoa snake, whoa, he ran after the serpent. The fight, Sasuke was at his limit. The grass ninja was just toying with him. Even with his Sharingan he could barely keep up. Sakura was just switching between cheering Sasuke on and screaming in terror. Whoa snake, whoa, he heard a familiar voice speak. Drew everyone's attention. Come on, whoa, it was a ridiculous sight. When I say whoa, there was a loud impacting sound. I mean whoa. The snake couldn't take much more of this. As Naruto stepped into the area, he was greeted with stares of disbelief. What? He asked innocently. Dobi, Sasuke called. Get out of here, he shouted. This opponent is way out of our league. You can take that freak, Sasuke-kun, Sakura cheered, though she went completely ignored. This is what you want, right? Sasuke held out their scroll. Just take it and leave us. Sasuke, you fool, Naruto shouted. If the enemy is as strong as you say, then what's to stop him from killing you anyway? He eyed the grass ninja. Isn't that right, Orochimaru? You are so clever, Naruto-kun, the enemy complimented. What gave me away? There are only 2 snake summoners, Naruto answered, and I'm currently dating the other. You're really dating Anko? Orochimaru asked. And they call me the cradle robber. I became legal when I put on this headband, Naruto stated. Now, what are you doing here? Oh, I'm just here for Sasuke-kun. Orochimaru answered. Now let's begin, shall we? Let's. I can make you pay for hurting my Heim. Naruto drew his sword and took a stance. He dropped his weights and removed his blindfold as prepared for battle. Even if he were to use his Shin no Ippo, Stage 3, there was no guarantee he could win. He didn't have enough fear saved up. He had little to no control over the technique and just ran wild against whoever was in his way. The only reason he regained control was because of Anko, his Heim. He only beat Zabuza with it because the former Mist Nin was already tired. Orochimaru was one of the Sannin for a reason and looked full of energy. So you want a sword match, huh? Orochimaru mused. Fine. The snake Sannin began to regurgitate something, a sword. Now Naruto had a chance. Orochimaru wasn't a Sannin for his sword skills. However, Naruto still needed to be careful. Orochimaru had superior speed, strength and much more experience. Naruto decided to make the first move. He jumped toward a free branch next to Orochimaru. Looking the snake Sannin in the eye, he used Shin no Ippo, Stage 1. The technique caught Orochimaru off guard long enough for Naruto to use another genjutsu. Demonic illusion. Double false surroundings. He hoped that Orochimaru didn't notice him start using genjutsu. While he had the opportunity, he dashed toward the Sannin. Raising his sword, he made to decapitate the Rouge. His blade was blocked by the one Orochimaru was holding. So he broke free. He didn't think it would hold all that well anyway. Now they were in a power struggle. Unfortunately for Naruto, Orochimaru was winning. Then it caught his attention. That sword, Naruto whispered. He jumped back onto another tree. It was the sword of Kusanagi, a blade that was said to be indestructible and capable of cutting through anything with enough force. It also came with a bunch of other tricks. So you know of this blade? Orochimaru asked amused. Do you still want to try yours against it? Like he had a choice. The Sannin jumped toward Naruto, blade extended. While the Sannin was in mid-air, he made his move. Now invert. With Orochimaru's vision and balance distorted, he attempted a one-arm diagonal slash. Orochimaru tried to block, but you know how that goes. The blade made contact and Naruto was rewarded with the enemy's blood. As they fell, Naruto landed on a tree. Orochimaru attempted the same but fell through his. It was the illusion Naruto had placed in the beginning of the fight. The Sannin tried to right himself, but Naruto would have none of that. Everything the snake Sannin tried to grab was just an illusion. He landed on the ground painfully. Naruto jumped and landed on the other side of the clearing. Sasuke and Sakura followed behind after. Dobi, how were you able to beat one of the Sannin? Sasuke asked. You fool! Naruto shouted. He's not beaten, he's not even hurt. You are very perceptive, Naruto, Orochimaru complimented, and your skills are just as good. Well, Sasuke-kun is better, Sakura howled. Be silent, you pink thing, Orochimaru ordered. If you hate Sakura, then maybe you aren't all bad, Naruto stated. Sasuke, I need you to back me up here. Baka! Sakura shouted. You should be backing Sasuke up. I'm going to kill her, Orochimaru stated. While Orochimaru was distracted by Sakura, Naruto decided to make his move. Dance of the Crescent Moon. Two Narutos made their way to Orochimaru. The snake Sannin blocked the first blade with his own, and with a flick of his wrist he impaled him. He grabbed the second Naruto by the arm and tossed him headfirst into the Naruto that was attaching from behind. Fire style. Fireball jutsu. It was a direct hit, however Orochimaru simply walked out of the flames. He eyed Sasuke with a disturbing look. The snake Sannin stretched his neck to inhuman lengths toward the Uchiha. He bit the Uchiha, leaving a mark on his neck. This caused him to scream in pain. Sasuke-kun! Sakura cried as running to his side. What did you do to him? I just gave him a little gift, he answered. It will also keep him from interfering with my fight with Naruto-kun. Let's begin, Naruto stated. Let's, he agreed. I wish to see what the one who believes himself to be fear can do. Naruto attempted a forward thrust. The Sannin merely stepped to the side. Leveling his sword, Orochimaru made for a side slash. Naruto raised his sword to block, but the blow was too heavy and knocked him down. As he picked himself up, he saw Orochimaru. The snake Sannin was standing over him like a predator. I believe I smell fear from you, Naruto, Orochimaru taunted. With great force, Naruto was back-slapped across the clearing, striking shadow snakes. Several snakes flew out to the still airborne Naruto. They latched their fangs into his and pulled him back. Naruto was greeted to Orochimaru's sword pointed to his face. Naruto pulled his sword arm up and cut through the snakes binding him. He then delivered a chakra-infused kick to the snake Sannin's stomach. Instead of being pushed back like Naruto had hoped, Orochimaru merely grunted. Grabbing Naruto by the back of his head, he placed the sword to his neck. Giving a chakra-infused elbow to the stomach, he freed himself. He jumped back a few feet to make some distance. Shadow Clone Jutsu. He summoned 5 and they each made a dash for Orochimaru following the original. The snake Sannin dispatched them easily. The snake Sannin delivered a kick to Naruto, bringing him to his knees. He was forced to drop his sword from the pain. He pointed the Kusanagi at Naruto. The blonde fell back in fear. What he did next would shame him. Dot, 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 he ran. Dot, 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 he didn't know where he was. He just knew that he was tired and scared. He felt a familiar pulling sensation in the back of his mind. You little twerp, a familiar voice growled, how dare you? I'm sorry, Naruto whispered, ashamed. I know I shouldn't have ran. You're damn right you shouldn't have, Kyuubi agreed, but that isn't what has me so angry. It isn't, he asked the fox. Then what does? You were afraid, the fox shouted. You felt fear, my container felt fear, from a snake. I was losing a life and death battle. It wouldn't be the first time, Kyuubi pointed out, and you didn't use any of the techniques I taught you. I didn't have enough fear for the Shin. I'm not talking about that, Kyuubi spoke. You haven't used any genjutsu I taught you but that one. You haven't even used my kenjutsu since Wave and you only used the basics. I can't control the illusions, Naruto stated, and your sword style is for killing and maiming. You aren't supposed to control the illusion, and what do you think a sword is for? But, what are you afraid of? The fox asked. You mouthed of to me, the Kyuubi, the fox stated. You taunted the demon of the mist. You even stared down the Ikibi container, so I know you don't fear death. Quote. The Ikibi container, you mean Gaara? Naruto asked. Don't change the subject, the fox growled. What are you afraid of? I'm afraid of myself, Naruto shouted. I'm afraid of what I can do. It became a whisper, of what I will do. I see, the fox mused. You fear your control over yourself. What if I hurt my Heims? He asked. I wouldn't be able to live with myself. They Kyuubi wanted to be angry at the brat but couldn't. Even the giant fox had a heart when it came to this matter. But as the container of Kyuubi, there could be no weakness. Brat, I will no longer help you, the fox stated, until you find your resolve. You are on your own. With nothing more to say, the fox ejected Naruto from his own mind. Guess I'll go find my team, he thought, if they're still alive. Naruto spread his sensor radar as far as he could. He found Orochimaru first. The snake Sannin wasn't with his team. He was with Anko, his Heim. It took less than a second for Naruto to decide his next action. He ran toward the direction of the two snake users. Naruto may be afraid, but it wasn't of death. He would happily die for any of his Heims. He was afraid he wouldn't make it in time. Anko was worse for wear. She was completely exhausted and had used nearly all of her chakra. She had enough left for just one jutsu. Goodbye girls, Iruka. Naruto. Twin snake mutual death. I'm sure you don't want to waste your life like that, Orochimaru stated. How do you think your dear Naruto-kun would feel? That question was enough to make her cancel the suicide jutsu. What have you done with Naruto-kun? Anko asked in fear. Nothing too bad, just a friendly spar, he stated. To my disappointment he ran away. Well, now I'm back, a new voice spoke. Naruto-kun, Anko shouted, get out of here. Well, Naruto-kun, Orochimaru spoke, are you going to give me a better fight this time? Naruto said nothing. There was nothing he could say. He took his usual stance. They moved simultaneously and their blades met. It was another power struggle as they fell from the treetops. They landed like cats, never breaking their struggle. Naruto pushed Orochimaru back. The snake Sannin made a side slash at Naruto's legs. The blonde jumped and attempted a straight slash down. Orochimaru backstepped, avoiding the blade. The Kusanagi took the blow, being pushed into the ground. Using his sword as a stand, Naruto delivered a kick to Orochimaru's face. Orochimaru backstepped even further. Very good, Naruto, Orochimaru complimented. What gave you such a new flair? Naruto stayed silent, not talking. Well then, show me more. The snake Sannin made for a one-handed thrust. Naruto sidestepped and swung at his exposed body. The blade made contact. Before Naruto could feel any satisfaction, pain erupted from his back. It was only because of his tolerance that he was able to stand. The Orochimaru before him dissolved into a puddle of mud. Another stood behind him. Naruto, Anko screamed. She dived down to help the blonde. Drawing her kunai, she began to recklessly slash away at the Sannin. With no chakra or focus, her movements were slow and sloppy. Orochimaru simply dodged each one as if it were child's play. I'm not interested in you, Anko, Orochimaru spoke. The snake Sannin raised his hands and formed a seal. It was a seal she was all too familiar with. It was the one she feared most. She fell to the ground, screaming in pain. Orochimaru had activated the curse seal on her. Naruto ran to her side. He completely ignored the snake Sannin. All he cared for was his Heim. Anko, he cried, get up. Oh, so she was your motivation, Orochimaru stated. No wonder you fought so hard. Stop it, Naruto shouted. I'm your opponent. Sorry, Naruto, he falsely apologized, but no can do. Naruto glared at the snake. He activated the fox glare but nothing happened. He tried over and over again. Not gonna happen. What? Why? You need to give in. Never. Naruto dashed toward the Sannin but was simply backhanded. I will deal with you when I'm done with her, he stated, unless you show me what you used at the bridge. Do you hear that? Kyuubi asked. He is going to kill your mate then you. I know. Then give in. But, do you want to be alone again? Kyuubi asked. Do you want one of your Heims to die in front of you? No. Then give in. All right, all right, all right. Orochimaru looked toward the mumbling blonde. He was greeted with a pair of fox-like eyes glaring at him. It shocked him but he knew enough not to look directly at them. That wouldn't stop it. The forest went black. Naruto unleashed more killer intent and fear than should have been possible. It filled the forest to the point that it stopped other genins in their task. Everywhere Orochimaru looked he was greeted with giant fox-like eyes staring at him from all directions. In the center Naruto was staring at him. It was unnerving, even to the snake Sannin. What have I gotten myself into? More than you could possibly imagine. With his concentration lost Anko was freed. Naruto, she weakly mumbled before falling unconscious. 1 minute Naruto was staring at Orochimaru with untold hatred. The next he was behind the Sannin with fresh blood on his sword. Because on the shock, Orochimaru barely noticed the gash on his shoulder. Or the fact that Naruto was holding his severed sword hand. You shouldn't have harmed my Heim, Naruto stated, you would have lived. Orochimaru couldn't believe, Naruto had just severed his hand. A genin, even if a gifted one had harmed him, a Sannin. How did? Again Naruto vanished and another slash appeared. Longer, Naruto needed to pay for hurting Anko in the past. Orochimaru was in trouble. He had only one hand and he was under assault from an unfamiliar attack. He needed to end this. As much fun as this has been I need to go, Orochimaru stated. You think you can just leave that easily? Naruto asked. Just like that? Of course I can, Orochimaru stated with confidence, with just 6 little words. Well you had better say them fast, Naruto stated charging Orochimaru. The Sannin simply smirked. You are so like your mother. That stopped Naruto. It also stopped the genjutsu that had filled the whole area. His mother. What would Orochimaru know about his mother? Even the old man, the Hokage, didn't know anything. Before Naruto could open his mouth, Orochimaru sunk into the ground. Naruto was at a loss. He wanted to go after the Sannin but he knew he couldn't. He knew he wouldn't leave his Heim in a vulnerable state. After sealing the Kusanagi he gently shook her awake. Naruto, Anko weakly called, I'm a little thirsty. He knew what that meant. Walking to Anko he uncovered his neck. Anko bit down and drank the blood greedily. Naruto wondered if healing blood was a blessing or a curse. Even as Anko moaned in ecstasy he couldn't decide. Naruto, what happened? She asked after drinking his thirst. Orochimaru got away. Naruto stated, I'm sorry I had to use. He couldn't finish. He had broken his promise to Anko. It seemed she understood. You used the fox huh? Anko asked. So what? This sent Naruto through a loop. I promised that I wouldn't. I made promise not to use it unless unnecessary. She spoke. I say an S-rank ninja definitely counts as necessary, don't you think? Naruto couldn't be happier. Anko wasn't upset that he broke a promise to her. In fact, she seems to have approved of his actions. It was ruined by a vile spike in chakra. That just happened to be in the area of his teammates. Darn it. Go. She spoke. I can take care of myself from here. She assured. You on the other hand have an exam to finish. Naruto felt the area. There were Anbu on their way to this spot. Since he felt Yugao's chakra with them he didn't mind leaving. Okay. With a kiss he was off. Snake. The summons needed a break. It had been summoned by its master for a simple task. Eat a child. What does it get? Knocked unconscious. Knocked awake to be a ride. And knocked unconscious when it wouldn't. Suddenly something fell on its head. Hey, a familiar voice called. I know we got off on the wrong foot or belly but. The snake wasn't listening. Nope, it was getting away from that insane, blonde human. Unfortunately, Naruto was still on its head. Whoa snake. Team 7. Sasuke felt great. He had power. It was coming from the mark on his neck. He had been given power worthy of an Uchiha, worthy of his greatness. And he had the first prey to try it on. He even had an audience to use it in front of. There was Team 9 and 10 as well as Sakura. Before he could, a large snake burst into the clearing. It was thrashing around as if trying to shake something off. That something was a person. Naruto Uzumaki. Whoa snake. Whoa, a familiar voice drew everyone's attention. Come on. Whoa, it was a ridiculous sight. When I say whoa, there was a loud impacting sound. I mean whoa. Everyone's sweat dropped as they saw Naruto ride in on a snake before smashing it over the head with a sword sheath. The snake had enough, it dispelled. As the blonde stood back up and dusted himself off, he noticed his surrounding. What? He asked innocently. Yosh. Lee shouted. That was a wonderful display of youth. Thanks Lee. Naruto spoke. What happened to you? I was defending Sakura-san. He answered. It seems I must increase my flames of youth. Well Lee, you did good. Naruto spoke, reaching into his jacket. Here's a turtle. It was a real turtle. He handed it to Lee. Thank you Naruto. Lee spoke through tears. I will forever try. We were in the middle of something. One of the sound nin spoke, cutting Lee off. If you don't mind leaving. Sorry. Naruto spoke. As much as I don't like them. He looked at them. And I really don't like them. He added. I need them to pass. Baka. Sakura shouted. Don't get in Sasuke-kun's way. It finally clicked to Team 10 who this stranger was. Naruto had only showed this form to Team 7 and 9. Troublesome. That's Naruto. Ino asked. Why isn't he? I'm usually under a henge when you see me, Naruto answered. Enough of this. Sasuke shouted. I have a fight going on. He looked toward Naruto. In fact, Naruto, I'll test my new power on you first. Charging forward, the Uchiha attempted to end the fight quickly. He was met with the end of Naruto's sheath to his stomach. The pain brought Sasuke to his knees. He gave the blonde his most hatred-filled glare. Sasuke-kun. Sakura and Ino shouted. You're in for it now Baka. Ino spoke. You attacked an ally, that's against the law. If you would have paid attention Ino pig, Naruto snapped, you would have saw him attack me first. Well it's still one down, the enemy spoke, now you. They attacked Naruto as one. He calmly took his stance. Dance of the poisoned snake. Naruto struck them with great speed and precision. They fell to the ground holding various parts of their body in pain. It was an attack he had invented himself. It was a quick attack that struck the enemy or enemies deep. The wound wasn't lethal, but if left unattended the wound would bleed out. It was born from the idea of a poisoned snake's strike being feeble but deadly. If you don't get attention for that you will die, Naruto warned. It won't be fast so you have time, but you will just bleed to death if left unattended. All of the Konoha teams were shocked at Naruto, especially Team 10. This wasn't the blonde idiot I knew, this was a shinobi. A killer. Fine. The assumed leader spoke, we'll leave. Leave your scroll, Naruto ordered. They did. Luckily for Naruto it was the one they needed. Hey you, Baka, Ino shouted, I want answers so start. Ino. Naruto spoke, I have had enough of you and I could kill you now without any repercussion. Ino was frozen with fear. It was true, Naruto could kill her. During these exams death wasn't uncommon, it was actually expected. She looked around, it was obvious she would get no help. Uchiha, Haruno, Naruto called, let's go. Wait, you hurt. Sakura didn't get to finish. Naruto grabbed by the neck and raised her off the ground. He gave her a hate-filled glare. Sakura, I am tired of your fangirl ways, he growled. Since this team formed you have been useless. It was true, if I have to keep dealing with you then I'll kill you myself, understand? Why yes, she choked out terrified. Let's go. Chunin exams. Preliminary. Team 7 had arrived to the tower a few days earlier. They were greeted by Iruka who hadn't given a lecture. Afterwards Naruto had informed him and the Hokage of their encounter with Orochimaru. It was supposed to be kept secret so naturally half of the village would know of it by the end of the day. Naruto had already reapplied his henge and left his team for better company. Now they were getting ready for the next phase. I'm sorry to tell you all this but The Hokage spoke but was cut off. Maybe I should do it. Hayate spoke. I am the proctor for this exam Fine. Alright there are two many of you. Hayate spoke. So we are going to have a preliminary match. Does anyone want to quit now? Kabuto was the only one who did. Alright, everyone but the one fighting go to the balcony. Sasuke versus Yoroi. You should give up. Sasuke spoke. You can't win against an Uchiha. We'll see about that, Yoroi stated. Yoroi made the first move. His hands began to glow with chakra. He charged the Uchiha and grabbed him. It took a while but Sasuke found out what he was doing. My chakra, he groaned. That's right, the Uchiha kicked Yoroi off as hard as he could. He drew a kunai and took a stance. A stance that angered Naruto. Dance of the poisoned snake. The blow to Yoroi was fast and ruthless. That attack wasn't meant to be lethal unless you let it bleed out, Sasuke spoke, but this is fire style. Fireball jutsu. The genin was burnt to ashes. Winner, Sasuke Uchiha, Hayate spoke. As Sasuke made his way to the balcony he was stopped. Naruto stood in front of him with barely contained rage. Naruto growled, you had no right. What are you going on about Dobi? Sasuke asked with a smirk. Naruto was only angered further. He grabbed the Uchiha by the neck and lifted him off the ground. Naruto, unhand Sasuke, Kakashi ordered. Baka, you had, a glare from Naruto shut her up. Naruto, the Hokage called, please explain yourself. That technique Sasuke just half-assed was mine, Naruto spoke, I created it myself. Naruto you shouldn't make up lies, Kakashi spoke. I can vouch for him, Anko spoke, he based it off the style of the poisonous snakes. It's fast and seems easy to ignore, but given time you die from blood loss like poison. You should feel honored, Sasuke spoke with arrogance, I found the attack to be worthy, so I made it my own. Naruto increased the pressure on his hold. Naruto stop, the Hokage spoke, I'm sure you don't need to kill him. Fine, Naruto mumbled releasing Sasuke, but I'll get even my way. That's fine, Hiruzen assured, but not now. Come on Sasuke, Kakashi called, we need to deal with that little problem you have. Shino vs Zaku, Canon, Shino wins, Kankuro vs. Stretchy Guy. Canon, Kankuro wins, Sakura vs Ino, Canon. It was an awful fight. Temari vs Tenten, Canon. Temari wins. How was that Naruto-kun? Temari asked, am I one of your Heims yet? That was brutal, Naruto spoke, and no. Temari simply pouted before walking away. She stopped and looked directly at Naruto. Mark my words, she stated, I will rub those whiskers. Naru-chan, Anko called in a sickeningly sweet voice, is there something you want to tell me? Maybe about that sand girl. No hubby Heim, he spoke, there is nothing between us. Good, she cheered, I was worried 4 women weren't enough for you. 4. Kankuro and Kiba shouted. The Hokage and Kankuro experienced a terrible case nose bleeding. Kakashi, who just returned, was having a perverted giggle attack. Hayate and Asuma sent unnoticed glares to the blonde. Kiba was shaking in untold rage. You're dating the proctor, my sister and 2 others, Kiba shouted, if I fight you then you're dead. Shikamaru vs Canon, Shikamaru wins. Naruto vs Kiba. Yes, Kiba shouted, now we can teach this Dobi a lesson. But I don't want to learn now, Naruto stated. Shut up and listen, Kiba shouted. I'm all ear. Using henge Naruto created several large ears in various places of his body. That's gross. You just don't understand the power of henge, Naruto spoke, which is surprising since your sensei is a genjutsu specialist. Forget genjutsu, Kiba shouted. Naruto, Anko called, why not show him how well your henge is? Gladly, Akumaru ran toward Naruto and bit him. Although Akumaru was a small dog he had powerful bite. It didn't help that there was chakra mixed in his teeth. Good thing Naruto had a high pain tolerance. Ah heal, Naruto shouted as he jumped around on one leg, how would you like a case of 7-year itchbone breath? Naruto hanged into a man-sized orange flea, you'll free the flea. He began chasing Akumaru across the arena. It was actually pretty funny and disgusting at the same time. It lasted until Kiba threw a powder substance into his face. Whatever it was, it caused a burning sensation to Naruto's face. What was that? Naruto asked in his human form. Flea powder, Kiba answered. When you live with dogs you learn to keep prepared. It was true. Now come on, I'll show you why I'm top dog around here. You know, Naruto spoke, tightening his blindfold, I've always been a cool cat. He hanged into a man-sized orange tom cat. But baby, look at meow. The cat ran toward Kiba. The feline delivered scratch after scratch at Kiba, who was barely able to dodge. Kiba knew he was in trouble. He needed some space. Akumaru, he called. The dogs ran behind that cat Naruto and did something insane. He bit Naruto's tail with a chakra-infused bite. This caused Naruto to jump straight to the ceiling in pain. It didn't help his image that Akumaru was barking at him while running in circles. Like a cat and dog. Now everyone was laughing at him. He began to shake in rage. Naruto didn't like to be laughed at. So he undid his blindfold. An unnatural chill silenced all of the laughing. The walls all became black and seemed to close in on everyone in the room. From the unnatural darkness, an untold number of giant glowing fox-like eyes glared. The henge he was wearing hadn't been undone but altered. Now he was in his half-man half-kyuubi form. The same one he had taken on the bridge, right before slaughtering the bandits. His eyes glared into Kiba and Akumaru with great rage. He gave a mighty roar and with great speed he stood before the two. Using one tail he grabbed Akumaru and began squeezing. 5 others latched onto Kiba. 1 on each limb and 1 on his neck. The tails on Kiba's limbs began pulling in opposite directions. The one on his neck pulled as well as squeezed. Who's laughing now? He growled. Who's laughing now? Naruto, Kurenai called. Stop this instant. Naruto released both Kiba and Akumaru, who were struggling to breath. He also undid the illusion he had on the area and himself. He couldn't meet Kurenai's gaze. For him, disappointing any of his Heim was too great a shame. It didn't help that he had put his blindfold back on. Oh, I'm not mad at you, she assured, but how will Hana feel if you hurt Kiba too badly? Sensei. Kiba couldn't believe what he was hearing. You're one of them too, aren't you? That's why you always smell like foxes. You're dating Naruto as well. Well, she didn't like the gazes she was getting. Naruto finished the match. She couldn't meet the gaze Hinata was giving her. I will not lose to this Dobi, Kiba shouted. He actually thinks he's worthy of my sister. He continued. I am tired of them keeping the clan up all night when he visits her. This brought out some blushes and nosebleeds, and mom only encourages it so she can get some grand pups. Kiba, Ino called. Check your kunai pouch. What? Why? If you want the baka to really suffer, she stated, show him what's in it. Fine. Kiba did want him to hurt. When he reached into his pocket he pulled out a few pictures. As he examined them he couldn't help but smirk. These would give him what he wanted, with interest. Hey baka, Ino called. You should take a look at them as well. Kiba tossed the pictures into the air and let them scatter. Everyone saw the pictures. Kiba, Kurenai growled. You fool. Naruto-kun. As Naruto examined them he felt a cold hand grab his heart. On each picture was a different one of his Heims. They each were with different man. Enko with Iruka, Asuma and Kurenai, Yugao and Hayate. Well Dobi, Kiba spoke, anything to say? Everyone watched as the blonde calmly walked towards Kiba. Naruto delivered a devastating punch to Kiba's face. The blow most obviously broke his nose, but that wasn't all. The force behind it sent Kiba sailing into the wall across the arena. On impact Kiba became lodged into the wall and created a crater. Naruto wasn't done. The blonde began to deliver punch after punch to Kiba's face. Each one digging Kiba further into the wall. Each one drawing more and more blood from the dog user. Kiba was beginning to fall unconscious. Naruto wasn't going to have that. He punched Kiba in the gut. The blow forced him awake for the continued punishment. It also caused him to double over and spit out both blood and vomit. He weakly looked at Naruto and regretted it. What he saw wasn't the blonde he ridiculed. What he saw was a pair of crimson-red eyes that made him afraid. Naruto glared into Kiba's eyes with such intensity that he nearly fainted again. As Kiba stared, he caught a glimpse of Naruto's fox glare technique. Kiba gave a horrible scream. What Naruto showed him was so full of his anger that it was maddening. Naruto delivered one final punch to Kiba, silencing him. This time he could fall unconscious. No one could believe what they saw, especially coming from Naruto. That was one of the most savage beating they had seen. It wasn't even a real fight, or even just a beating. It was punishment. "And Naruto," Anko called. "Is it true?" he asked them. They wanted to say no. But they couldn't lie, not to Naruto. "Yes," Anko and Kurenai answered. He looked to the cat-masked Anbu. She nodded her head. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked. "Why did you lead me on?" "Don't feel bad," Asuma spoke. "You can at least say you went all the way with the Ice Queens," he continued, "and on the first date on the same night." "You chose him over me?" he asked Kurenai. She wouldn't meet his blindfolded gaze. "Well, you are just, a kid," Hayate spoke. "And you're half dead," Naruto stated, getting a glare from Hayate. "What's your point?" "Listen, you little," Hayate just barely stopped himself. "Say it," Naruto ordered. "I want you to say it." Hayate didn't know what came over him. But he said it. "Demon," he shouted. "You demon. You broke the third's law," Naruto stated, undoing the cloth, punishable by death. "Hayate," Anbu dressed Yugao called. "Don't look into his eyes." Too late. Shin no Ippo. Stage 2. This stage was the one Naruto thought was the cruelest. In an average battle he wouldn't use it. Now he just didn't care. He wanted this fool to suffer. It literally froze a person's lungs with fear. Hayate couldn't breathe. He was literally suffocating from fear. He fell to the ground gasping for the air his sick lungs were denied. He couldn't turn his terrified gaze from Naruto. It became obvious to everyone why Hayate couldn't breathe. Naruto's henge ended and everyone saw what he really looked like. No longer was he the orange-wearing buffoon. Now he was a blood-red-wearing shinobi. "It hurts, doesn't it?" Naruto asked. "To feel those diseased lungs of your being denied air," he spoke. "To feel them burn with each passing second, begging for an end." He then lowered his voice, "one way or another." Everyone was shocked at what they saw. They couldn't believe the cruelty Naruto was showing. "Naruto, please stop," Yugao begged. Her pleas fell on deaf ears as he watched him squirm. Asuma decided to step in and end it. "Stand down, kid," he warned, "or I'll have to take you down." Naruto wasn't listening. "Look, I know how you feel, kid, but you can't do this to a fellow shinobi." "You know how I feel?" Naruto asked. You know nothing on how I feel," Naruto stated. "I despise you both so intensely that I can't tell if my vision is blurry from my broken heart or my unforgiving rage." Everyone could feel both in his voice. "Once I'm done with Hayate, I will gut you with an honest to Kami smile on my face." "Let's just end this," Asuma stated. Naruto raised his sword so that it reflected his eyes. Shin no Ippo. Stage 3. He felt the power begin to surge through him. "No!" Anko and Kurenai shouted. They needed to act if they were to save their men. String bean binding illusion. Kurenai used this to restrict his movements. Striking shadow snakes. Anko used this to separate Naruto from his sword. Dance of the crescent moon. Yugao split into 3 clones and performed the dance. There were 3 blades pointed to his vital areas by Yugao. They stopped short of piercing the skin. Himes, he couldn't believe what was happening. "Don't call us that," Yugao snapped. "How could you do that?" Anko asked. "After you promised me." "I'm so ashamed of you, Naruto," Kurenai stated. This was really happening. His Himes were turning on him, for another man each. "Naruto," Hiruzen called in an empty tone, "he is my son." They watched as the Naruto before them faded away. He reappeared in the balcony with a blank look on his face. "Look at you two," Junin wasted and gasping for air. He spoke to Asuma and Hayate, "But you don't go yet. When your very lives are broken around you," he lowered his voice, "then you have my permission to die, so for now stand." Hayate and Asuma were finally regaining their breaths. "I was a fool to think you 3 were any different in the end," he stated to his Himes. Once again Naruto faded out of existence. This time he didn't reappear in the room. "You just had to teach him of all people the camouflage jutsu." Kakashi asked. We'll be lucky to ever find him. When Naruto didn't want to be found, he wouldn't be. All of his years living in the village made sure he learned to be stealthy. If possible, this would only make it harder. Hey, what's that? Ino asked, pointing to the arena. It was a scroll. It was obvious who left it. That was why no one wanted to open it, especially his former Heims. Fine, Hiruzen stated, I'll open it. Shadow Clone Jutsu. What? Don't any of you look at me like that, he ordered. This is Naruto. He wasn't really going near that thing. The clone opened it and revealed a letter. Dear Heim, I want you all to know how much I love you. I know that I don't deserve any of you, but I will do my best to make you happy. Without any of you I would be nothing. It is you four that keep me whole. You four keep me from giving in to my furry tenant. Without any of you, I would have no purpose. If I were to lose you, I would just give up. If any of you were to die, then I would die right alongside you. I would happily follow any of you to hell if it made you happy. There was a seal on the one designated to Anko. When she saw what was in it, her heart nearly stopped. It was the severed hand of the one she hated the most. It was the severed hand of Orochimaru. I know I couldn't beat him, but I will. I will free you from that curse he left you. Even if it costs me my life. The snake mistress was in tears. All of them were in tears. They had broken the hearts of someone who had loved them. Naruto, who had never known love, just stated that would happily die for any of them. Naruto never lied. P.S. If you aren't one of my Heims and are reading this, then as a tribute to Anko. Dodge. The Hokage's clone was greeted to a face full of kunai. At the end of each kunai was a high-powered explosive note that detonated on contact. That was a little extreme, many thought. Good thing I used my clone the Hokage though. What have we done? They asked themselves. You've just done something not even the villager could. Hiruzen spoke. You just broke Naruto's spirit, something many thought impossible. What happens now? That's the main question, isn't it? Hiruzen asked. And what will he do now? That was the real question. Naruto was a Genjutsu genius. He had near limitless chakra and stamina to match. There was also the giant demon sealed in his stomach. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, comment and subscribe, as well as checking out the author on fanfiction.net.